I'm in this little island of timber, surrounded by regrowth. Looks like there was 3 or 4 deer bedded in here and a buck. The buck came in here and stirred it up. Beat up this tree. You can see where he's got old rubs in here. These little islands of timber are good little hubs for deer. He stood with his back legs together here and peed on his legs. They do that when they're in the rut. So, what am I going to do? I think I'm going to set up the camera and hang out for a bit. Maybe get some more emails shared. I think I'll lean up against this tree right here, I think, and hang out. The deer have been chewing on this tree too. Huh. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'll set up my camera, my seat, and get some emails shared right here. doing some hiking today. About the furthest point away from where I left my quad. When the winds, it's getting cold, it's dropping temperature real rapidly again. The wind's up my back coming from the north. So it's north, south, east, west, where I'm sitting. So I blatantly walked with the wind in my back all the way down this old cut line. I don't know, probably probably about a mile and a bit. A mile and a bit is a long distance when you're talking still hunting. So I came into this one island of timber I could see in the distance. I came in the middle of it real slowly. You can see a buck came in here and just tormented these does in here, and they all took off to the north. So I'm going to sit here for a while. It's noon. Had my snack, had my coffee. And just in case my scent swirled through there as I came down about 400 yards that way. I came all the way down with the wind at my back. So I'm going to let things cool off for a bit before I start going back into the wind, dead slow. And see what happens. So, this is a good way to make sure I sit put for a little while. Who do we have here? This is titled Light Speed. Hope you guys can hear me. I just listened to your program from the scientist about the portals. I am a member of the Club of No Return. You read my experience a while ago. I'd heard the howl that I can only compare to a Hollywood werewolf. Don't really expect you to remember it, but I also said that I have a parody that I would send you when finished. Not quite done with that yet. I'm trying and I won't quit until it's done. My recording device is not working at the moment, LOL. I'm not a quitter and I will send you this soon. You might like it. Dunno. If not, you'll get a laugh out of it. Okay, now the reason I'm sending this is that the only material in the world that can slow down and or bend light is a diamond. Maybe this is the seed that needs planted in the right mind. Perhaps someone is looking for this answer. I'm not a scientist, but I do have a brain, and I thought this just might help. I didn't mention anything about my name, however you can say it. My name is Mark Minella from Pennsylvania. I know that these things are real, and I don't care about what people think. I, like you, want to know answers. Perhaps that small amount of knowledge about diamonds can help. Keep up the great job you're doing. You have become a righteous dude in a lot of people's lives. I'll be back with the parody soon. That's a promise. Okay, Mark. That's interesting. Did I read that? That sounds kind of familiar. Somebody throwing down a mention about a diamond. Odd. Here's one that is 100% very recent. Having encounters at a hunting spot. Steve, I've been having experiences at a public hunting spot in Oklahoma. I feel like the Sasquatch don't want me there. And also, this place is easy to get to, but nobody hunts there except me and my son. I had hunted there one season and been successful in harvesting whitetail and small game. With a recurve bow, if you're interested. No rifles allowed in this area, and shotgun only with no slugs. The second year we hunted there, it was maybe the opening day, we had experienced that horrible smell of skunk/rotting meat smell as we were walking in. We didn't think too much about it. Wasn't even thinking Sasquatch at all. We got out there well before daylight by 1.5 hours. I got my climbing stand set up and my son had a natural blind made of a log pile overlooking a dry pond. The pond was probably 50 yards wide by 300 yards long. He was sitting midway on the south side of the pond. I was 100 to 150 yards south of him, overlooking him. So if any deer came between us, it'd be hard to miss them. The river was 40 yards behind me. This was a well-traveled route for deer. Now, as I'm sitting in my stand, I get a realization what that smell was. I kept trying to blow it off. That maybe someone harvested a deer and I was smelling a gut pile. Well, it got daylight around 6:30, and probably an hour later I called my son on the radio and told him, let's get out of here. He asked why, and I asked if he heard the noise of someone banging on a tree, and he replied, no. That got me concerned. So I hurried up, got out of the tree, and hair standing up on my whole body. Got to my son, and we got the heck out of there. And we found somewhere else to hunt the rest of the year. The new place we hunted seemed okay, and had nothing happened there, but you can only get there by boat, and my boat is down for repair. Well, my son went to the old place where we had the previous experience, but my son isn't too sure about this Sasquatch stuff, even though he had eyes on one walking through a field probably 100 yards away, but still wouldn't admit how scared he was. Just flat out denial. And will not talk about it unless I really push him. He will describe what he say, but that's it. His description was 6 foot tall, covered in hair. Was definitely not a man. Walked, but really looked like it was gliding. He actually called me in a panic. He was asking me to come and get him, and he told me what he saw. I went and picked him up, and he was definitely alarmed. I drove around the area looking for it, but he was definitely not wanting to see it again. So back to this year, my son went out there to said hunting spot in the morning. Nothing happened. He said he seen a little buck out of range for archery. He went back out there that evening and got set up. And I thought, I'll hit him up on the radio, so I had to drive a few miles south of my house to be able to reach him on the radio. By this time, there's probably an hour left of daylight, and this place is thick brush, and I mean thick. And this year, the pond is full, but he's hunting the edge of this pond that's shaped like a loose horseshoe. I think this is called an oxbow lake. So I get him on the radio, ask him if he's seen any deer. He replies no, but there's something big walking around in the pond breaking limbs and stuff. I told him to get his ass back to the parking lot. He said he's not concerned because it was staying away from him. I said, you're crazy. Well, he continues to hunt, and I keep him up on the radio until he decides to call it quits when it's dark. Well, while he was driving home, he called me and said whatever is in the water followed him out of there and was not being sneaky about it. Well, when he got to the parking lot, which is a boat ramp area, there were other hunters there telling him that they wouldn't hunt there, but wouldn't say why. Well, he sat in the parking lot to see if anyone would come out of where he was, but nope. He was apparently the only hunter later in there. I'll get it. I'm doing it as smooth as I can. You guys all right? Now, he might be a little convinced now. I think I might have pissed Sasquatch off probably around 2011. And wondering if that would be passed on to my son. I have an adopted son also that hunts and fishes a lot. I'm telling you, he is like a wild creature. If he had to move to the city and never get to be in the outdoors again, it would be like putting wild animals in captivity. He would just become depressed and waste away. He has no encounters. He's my son's half-brother, and I've raised him since birth. We're all Indian, by the way. Yeah, I'd waste away too if you stuck me in the city. Well, back to 2011, or around there, give or take a year. Me and a few people went to town, and on the way back home, we saw a bright white light up on a cliff. We pointed the car at it, and it immediately turned blood red and shot towards us at an unbelievable speed. Totally freaked us out, and we took off toward our house down the highway. We were probably running 80 miles per hour, and it was following us on the driver's side of the car. But it was just inside the tree line. This is around 8 p.m. It followed us all the way to the house, but it stayed at the end of the driveway, 100 yards away. There were probably 10 to 15 people that saw this. While it was there, it shined a half-an-inch diameter beam of blue/gray light at us at our feet. At this time, I was scared as hell. We were all terrified, but we just couldn't take our eyes off of it. This lasted probably 10 minutes. At the least. Then it looked like one of the old tube-type TVs imploding on itself, and little white balls shot from it, 20 inches or so, and dissipated into nothing. Holy cow. 15 people seen it too. Well, a few weeks after that, me and my cousin were out fishing behind the house where this happened, and there was something big throwing what sounded like huge boulders at us. We got the hell out of there and left everything. And a few weeks later after that, we were at the same creek in the dark, walking along the side of it with only moonlight to see, and all of a sudden my cousin stopped and said, "Do you see that?" And he pointed to the left of us, and 20 feet away is something big and black on two legs covered in hair, just staring at us, holding perfectly still. But we definitely made eye contact, and as soon as we realized what we were looking at, we ran. I've never been so terrified in my life. We got up to the road, and we both agreed that we'd seen the same thing, and couldn't have been anything else. Well, a few weeks later, we were in my Jeep on the other side of the creek in my Jeep, driving on some old trails. We got quite a ways back in there and got out, and was checking out we got quite a ways back in there and got out, and was checking out old homestead sites, which were Seneca Indian farms. While we were there, we heard trees breaking from the direction we came in on. Note, it was a beautiful calm weather day, no wind, blue bird sky, and on our way out there was several 8-inch diameter trees broke off from 4 feet off the ground. Didn't really know what was going on, but ended up driving over the top of them and got out of there. Well, that night early next morning, I was sleeping at home and just woke up out of nowhere and felt I needed to go outside, like a real weird feeling of something just told me to go outside. Well, I went outside, and in front of my house was a 400-acre cattle pasture, and beyond that is a railroad track. So the railroad track was probably half a mile from my house with a clear view. As soon as I got outside, I thought I saw a car driving around at the railroad, or someone spotlighting deer or something like that. Then the light rose off the ground 20 feet or so, and at this point it really had my attention. Then I noticed it was coming straight toward me, and I stood there watching it and felt like I couldn't take my eyes away from it. Finally stopped right in front of me. And I know it was just watching me from 15 to 20 feet away and 10 to 15 feet off the ground. It was a brilliant blue-gray light that didn't light up the surrounding area, but was extremely bright. It's hard to explain what it looks like inside the ball of light, but it was the size of a basketball and looked like electrical plasma flowing over itself in waves. But outside shape of it was perfectly spherical. I quickly brought myself to run into the house, not really scared, but maybe in shock, heart pounding and definitely not sleeping the rest of the night. And I have no idea what these spheres are. Could they be angelic? Could it be God, aliens, entities from other dimensions? I have no idea. But I feel like they definitely have something to do with Sasquatch/Bigfoot/Sabe. I told my dad about the sphere coming to my house, and he then told me he had the same encounter when he was a kid. And when he was in his 20s, he had them in the house, flying through the walls, coming toward him, but not chasing him. He said they looked like perfectly round balls of fire. He believed them to be spirits or ghosts. I don't really know why I'm telling you this, but I just wish I had answers on what this stuff is. I know I've never heard of Sasquatch hurting anyone, but they're definitely terrifying. Like, I haven't shit or pissed myself, but they will definitely raise your heart rate. It was later in life when I happened to start listening to YouTube while I was at work. I'm a machinist, so lots of time staring at a part spinning in the lathe chuck. And autoplay was just randomly playing different videos, and the Bigfoot stuff started playing, and then I became almost obsessed with the topic of Bigfoot and light spheres. Almost no one knows that I'm into this, except my dad and my boys. I've had encounters with the little people also. They aren't as shy as people think. I was a non-believer and had a Seneca/Cayuga girlfriend that was telling me how to get their attention. To her dismay and mine, after I got their attention, they were banging on the floors, walls, and roof outside the house. I immediately regretted that decision, and no, I will not say what I did to get them to come and visit us. I refuse to tell anyone because I'm not interested in them finding out I shared this or whatever. My curiosity's been satisfied on little people. Tapping all this out may sound like a huge bullshit session, but I know what I saw and heard, and these experiences are not normal. I'm located in Ottawa County, Oklahoma, in case anyone's wondering. These encounters happened at Sycamore Creek, Neosho River, Wyandotte, Oklahoma, and Quapaw. I don't know why I'm sharing this. It's all been said before. Maybe I need to vent. What should I do, Steve? What would you do? Should I give up on my hunting spot? Are they just going to find me everywhere I go and harass me? I don't want to give up hunting. I don't think these creatures are here all the time. I believe I'm slightly aware of supernatural happenings. I'm no Miss Cleo fraud either. I'm not trying to gain recognition or be special. I'm not an attention whore. I just feel like they got it out for me. What's your advice? Wow. Not that I'm an expert, but all I can go by is my personal experience and what everyone shares here with us to help each other. I just say verbally, leave me alone. It's been working for me pretty good. Sometimes I wonder if I'm being a bit of a dick after I have my knife returned here. As a kind gesture, whoever did that, right? And I turn around and just say, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I want nothing to do with you. Now leave me alone. But I've got other places where I just don't go. I got other places I used to love to go, and I built a great big stand. I took you guys to that stand. I used to love to go and sit there and sit in that stand and watch bears, grizzly bears, and moose, and all sorts of stuff in there. I don't go near there anymore. I took you guys in there once, and I haven't been in there since. I don't think I'd been in there for 2 years or 3 years before I took you guys there, maybe even longer. So I'm just saying, there's places I don't go anymore. There's other places I'll go next to, and I'll feel pressure, but I'll still hunt there. But when I'm there, I always just say out loud, just leave me alone. I'm here to hunt. I want nothing to do with you. I don't need a picture of you. I don't need video of you. I don't need anything from you. Let's not ruin it for each other. I used to always say that. Let's not ruin it for each other. But sometimes, the evidence is pointing to, not every time, it is these Sasquatch Sabe people. There's other things going on out there, right? So, that's kind of frustrating. So there. I don't know if my words helped you or not. I hope they did. You're just going to have to go with your guts, man. Go with your instincts. Something's telling you not to go there, don't go there. You go against your gut, you're going to lose. You're the one who's going to have to decide what to do. Oklahoma. What is up with Oklahoma? What's this one? Did I just mark this as red? Okay, this is recent. You ready? This is titled, It's Driving Me Nuts, Steve. I gotta get my pocket warmer out. I got one in here. Oh, there we go. It's getting cold. I got 4 pocket warmers in the go every morning. This is titled, It's Driving Me Nuts, Steve. Hello everyone, watching you tracking and getting your deer was awesome. It's driving me nuts as I'm less than 48 hours out of cancer surgery and I'm not supposed to be lifting over 10 pounds. Watching you holding that deer makes me want to get out in the woods with my bow. Sadly, I can't cock my bow or use my compound as draw weight is too much. And if I did get a deer, I could not manage to pack it out. Enough of that, on to my strange event. Heal up, my man, heal up. And then you'll do it again. This year, January 2024, I was hunting the same area I wrote in and talked about before, where I had left an apple in a tree for the hairy guy. Maybe a year and a half ago. Anyway, this February 15th, deer season was over and my stands or blinds must be removed in 30 days. I normally take gear with me whenever I go in the woods, but not this time as I was going to remove my blind. It's 2:30 in the afternoon when I started packing up the blind, got it folded up and bagged, and on my back. It's February, so seeing through the trees is not a problem. I'm kneeling down when I see what appears to be at first glance a person hiking around about 100 yards in front of me in the trees. This, quote, person, end quote, looks like they're wearing a blue puffy jacket. I didn't pay much attention at first. As I stood up and adjusted my load out, I had to walk towards this person to exit the area, so I looked to see where they were, thinking it was another hiker or hunter getting their stuff. I didn't have my glass on me, so I couldn't zoom in on them. As I started walking towards this person, I noticed something was very off. Legs, black. Arms, black and long. Head, black. But center mass, blue. As I got closer, I'm still thinking human. But now about 60 yards away from me, this person becomes a thing to me. As it suddenly moves at high speed to my left behind a tree, then zigzags to my right, and then left again behind a larger tree. I have clear sight. I can see through the tree line out into the power line cut, so now I pick up my pace straight towards the tree this thing disappeared behind. The woods goes completely silent except for my footsteps. I walk to the side of the tree they went to, and no one around anywhere. There's no way to get by me without being seen. And I walked all over through the small patch of trees and out into the cut line. Just poof, gone. I walked back to the tree all around it, no tracks anywhere. The ground was soft and muddy. I was leaving tracks. This person/thing should have been leaving tracks on the ground. This 800-acre chunk of ground I hunt and hike on, right on the Missouri River, is full of strange things. We have this term for the area. It's called the Three Rivers Effect, where the Illinois, Missouri, and Mississippi converge. I don't know how the hell that thing just vanished, but it did. Anyway, that's all I have. Feel free to use my name, Joseph Biondo, from St. Louis. Sorry if it was too long. No, it wasn't, my man. It wasn't too long. I figured out why I gotta rub my nose all the time. Side note, as I'm talking, these readers push down on my nose and kind of vibrate my nostrils. It makes me always go like that. I finally figured it out. Funny, huh? Side note. There you go. You're not the only one to see him disappear, vanish. Thousands have. And they do. That's a fact. There's no way we can change that fact. Appreciate you sending that in, man. Keep sharing and keep listening to the people. This is titled Sasquatch Story. Hi, Steve. I'm from East Arkansas. I lived here for most of my life. My story is from when I was about 6 to 8 years old. Around that time frame, it was early 2000s. I was at my grandparents' in Shirley, Arkansas for a couple of weeks to go to Greer's Ferry Lake, to go cliff diving and ride the inner tube. It was the second night I was there, along with my cousins, and we were sitting out on the deck looking at Sugarloaf Mountain, which is on Greer's Ferry Lake, BC. Sugarloaf Mountain. Greer's Ferry Lake, BC. Sugarloaf Mountain. Sugarloaf Mountain. That's south of lumpy, right? When the sun starts to set, it's just a very nice and relaxing place to be. But that's besides the point. After a while, my grandparents and all my cousins decided to go back in because it was almost dark, but not dark enough where you couldn't see anything. In front of their house, they have a huge yard, very, very open, and have 2 gigantic cattle pastures that belong to neighbors directly across the way. And from the deck, you can just about see everything that's in both pastures without problem, even when it's getting dark. That's a long sentence. I looked down that way to see if there was any cows walking around, and I looked left at the neighbor's house, and there were 2 figures running up right on 2 legs very fast. There I saw them start almost from the neighbor's house. Both looked way too big to be human and way too quick. Now let me stress to you, the pasture is huge. The one they're running in. I still have no clue if it even was what I think I saw. It took those things less than 5 seconds to be out of sight and out of the pasture. And also there is a barbed wire fence that went above my head when I was around that age, and there is thick brush and trees in the direction they were running, too. I saw both basically take one leg and step over it like it was just a crack on the sidewalk. It was many years ago. I'm going to be 22 tomorrow. Jacob, appreciate you, man. Welcome to the club. I'm glad you wrote in. Big time glad you wrote in. We all are. You're not crazy. And I believe you. Next, 3 stories for you. I, Steve, have a couple of incidents and 1 sighting. I do not tell people about my experiences anymore because they just do not believe or want to hear about it. These all happened between the mid-70s to early 80s on Haida Gwaii, Queen Charlotte Islands back then. I used to love going for walks to the beach with my dog, Shepherd/Collie Cross, and my radio to sit on a log, listen to music, and watch the waves on the beach and just be in my own little world. This had been about the 3rd time my dog and I had gone to the beach, known as Cemetery Beach. On this day, everything was peaceful. Beautiful day. I was enjoying my relaxing time, and the dog was asleep beside me. And all of a sudden, she bolted awake and started whimpering and whining, looking towards the bush to the left of the way we had to go to get back home. She was acting strange. My gut was telling me she wanted us to get out of here and now. She had been on many overnight camping and hunting trips with my dad and brother. Never acted like this. She'd bark at bear and deer. I listened to my gut and the dog and headed home. And as we left the beach and entered into the bush on the dirt road, I had a strange, creepy feeling of being watched. We walked back to town at a pretty good pace. I've never been a runner. I'm not 100% sure if it was Sasquatch that made the dog act like that, but process of elimination as to what it could have been lends me to believe it could have been. A few months later, there was a big beach party out at the same beach. I had forgotten about the previous experience. I went to parties and beach parties just to hang out with friends. If I drank, it was just pop. I did not like having my wits about me when I am not home. Anyway, it was getting late, around 11 p.m., time to head home. And as I was trying to catch up to my sister and her friend, I lost sight of them. As I was trying to catch up to the girls, it was a moonlight night. We could see things pretty good for being nighttime. I was looking down, watching where I was walking so not to trip on a log, and when I looked up, I had turned a little off course to the right from the direction of the road. And clear as day, I saw a very, very tall, hairy being walking upright on 2 legs. I am terrible at judging distance. Best guess would be about 30 feet away. He was walking fast, taking big strides, and arms were swinging back and forth with each stride. I stopped in my tracks and did not make a sound. It turned its head and looked straight at me. When it turned its head back forward and was out of sight, I turned tail and ran back to the fire. I'm not sure how fast I was running. Remember, previously I did not run, but when I tripped on something, I remember seeing the sky go by twice. When I got back to the fire, my best friend, who is First Nations and I am white, says, "Holy shit, for white girl, you sure are white." By the time I calmed down, there was a crowd around me. When I told them what I saw, some believed me, and others said it was just a cow. I explained, cows do not walk on their hind legs like that. A few years later, a bunch of us rode at Pier Lake, which is south of Cemetery Beach, about a half-an-hour drive. We were talking about wanting to camp there sometime. One of the guys says, "Watch this." More like, "Listen to this." He whistled really loud. We all stood there super quiet listening. Then across the lake, thick bush and brush, we heard what sounded like a very loud whack on a tree ahead and to the right a little. Then a few seconds later, another very loud whack ahead and to the left of us. The guy whistled again, but this time there's no sound back. So much for camping. We all hightailed it out of there. I've not told these stories in many years, but I remember it all like it was yesterday. I don't mind if you want to share the story, but anonymously, please. Oh, what the hell, like you say, who gives a crap what other people think? Use my name if you want. Thank you very much for sharing your stories. It helps me to realize there are more people that are experiencing the same things and sights and ridicule. Have a great day. Kathy Hart. Kathy Hart, we appreciate you. Your honesty, not being scared. Good for you. Good for you. You're not the only one to see him hide a guy or at a party. That reminds me, guy I know, young fella, he saw one of these beings standing on the low side of the road in the ditch, and it towered over his pickup truck at nighttime when he's driving home. Shook him up. But near Birkenhead, this was a party near Birkenhead Lake, BC. That's exactly where I was in the thumbnail photo with the grizzly bear over my shoulder, right there. And they were having a big party, and one kid took a time out. He's a little wasted, I guess, and he went and laid down under a tree just outside of the firelight, and a huge hand covered his chest and shook him. And apparently a huge tree was pushed over right beside him too at the party. Just came to mind when you mentioned you're at the party. I guess that kind of energy and sounds is probably interesting to these people, right? Vancouver Island encounter. It's the title of this next email. I just wanted to share an encounter I had when I was younger. This experience changed everything. They always do. I grew up in the north end of Vancouver Island. The encounter happened when fishing a river near Georgie Lake. The area is about a 45-minute drive from Port Hardy on a logging road. I was with my friend and his father. Unfortunately, the Fish and Wildlife were busy asking my friend's father questions regarding the area we were fishing. When this was happening, we walked along the shore of the river to an area with a large sandbank. We started throwing rocks at this bank. It was causing the sand to slide down the middle of the bank. In between throwing rocks, sand started to slide down from the top of the bank. We both looked up at the same time, and we locked eyes with a large Sasquatch that was leaning over a stump. This creature had grayish mixed with dark reddish-brown hair covering every portion of its body that we could see other than areas on his face. He looked similar to the light brown creature on the blank blank video, but not so youthful. It stared at us until a shock kicked in and we ran back to the truck. I've been very fascinated with these creatures ever since that encounter, and now plan some of our camping trips to Sasquatch hotspots. Careful what you ask for. There's no doubt in my mind that what we seen was a Sasquatch. Keep up the awesome work getting all these stories out. Please let me know if you know of any other stories near Port Hardy. Thanks, Liam Fitzsisms. Sorry, Liam. There you go. There's another one on the island. Appreciate the share, man. It sounds like and another researcher is born. Maybe. Okay, one more. I'm getting chilly. One more, and then I'm going to go into stealth mode. And I can see another group of trees like this. This island of timber is about 40 meters by 40 meters. I can see there's another island of timber about 300 yards away from me out that way. I almost put money on it. This buck and does are going to be in there. Sorry, sidetracked. Ohio River Rock Hunter. Hello, buddy. I started watching your videos about a year ago. Damn, you're a badass storyteller. I wish I had that ability. I'm a big hunter and fly fisher, and I've seen about everything there is to see out there, and it'd make my stories a lot more interesting if I could talk like that. I just want to say, prior to this encounter, since I was a kid, I've always thought that Bigfoot was as real as Santa or the Easter Bunny. All the media I've seen and the bullshit stories and pictures I've heard and seen beat it into my head that those things are made-up stories to get publicity. Anyhow, I'm from West Virginia, and I've hunted with my grandpa on this property since I could walk, pretty much. This is about 6 years ago, and I just started hunting on my own, so I was 16. It was archery season, and the rut was just kicking in for the whitetails, early November. I was hunting 300 yards away from my granddad in a ladder stand. I didn't see anything. I returned to the house and got a call from my grandpa. He had shot and wounded a decent 8-point that we had been getting on camera since July. He was in a stand we call Old Faithful. I took a 40-yard shot at last light. He needed help tracking, so I grabbed a flashlight and my knife out of my hunting clothes, and I grouped up with him. We had followed the blood trail for an hour or so, and then it was becoming reduced to a drop every 10 feet or so. He had to work early next morning and had to get to the bed, so I told him I would stay out and track until I couldn't see any more sign. It's probably 9:30 at night, and I'm alone in an old, open hardwood forest on what's left of this trail with my flashlight. And I noticed the woods started to typo, I don't know what this would be. I noticed the woods started to thinken a bit, and that meant I'm coming up on the property line of a farm that neighbors my grandpa's property. Thinning? Must have meant notice where the woods started to thin a bit. I wasn't afraid of the dark, but I always got severe anxiety crossing into the section of wood/brush. This is a massive farm that has dairy cows, pigs, and its own butcher shop. Anyhow, I was just crossing the property line, and I heard a pig let out this blood-curdling squeal from about a mile away. It scared the hell out of me. But I calmed down, figured the pigs got out, and either the farmer was trying to get its ass back to the farm, or a coyote got a hold of it. I walked/crawled about 20 more yards through some brush, and I heard something take a step before I even had to lift my head or flashlight. That pig let out another scream, this time about 30 yards from me. I fell on my ass, scared shitless. I raised my flashlight over the brush pile that was between me and the sound of the pig. That's when I saw whatever it was standing there, clear as could be, staring at me. It had to be 8 feet tall, light brown/gray. I heard something run where it was standing, but the thing didn't move. I thought there was another one, and it was running to come and get me, but I guess it was the pig trying to get away. I shined my light back at the creature, and it let out this growl that cut right through me, unlike anything that I've ever heard. I'm not afraid of black bears, and know that you're supposed to stand your ground and make noise to scare it off. that's what it was doing to me, and it meant business. I wanted to get up and run away, but I was froze and didn't want to turn my back to it. I didn't even have time to think about the buck knife on my belt, not that I could have fended this thing off with it anyhow. The only way I could describe the way it looked is if you could imagine a less hairy, pissed off Chewbacca. I think it knew I was pissing my pants, and it looked in the direction of the way of what I assumed was the pig that ran off, and took 3 steps and was out of sight. I got up and sprinted the 2 or 3 miles back to my grandpa's house. Told my grandpa the next day that I lost the blood trail and never found the deer. I did tell him about the pig squealing in the woods, and that afternoon we went over to the farm to talk to the farmer. And he said he was missing 1 pig, and that there was no way that it should have been able to get out. We're talking about a 150-pound pig in a pen that has 4 to 5 foot tall sheets of tin that make up the walls and no door. The farmer lowers a ladder into the pen to get in and out. My grandpa suggested maybe a kid messing around, let it out, to screw with him. And that was the end of it. To this day, I've never told him, or anyone for that matter, what I saw or what happened to the poor pig. It just blows my mind how fast that thing had to be going to carry or chase that pig as fast as it did. I've done research online and read about archaeological digs and Native American mounds in my area, and a big topic is giant skeletons being dug out of these mounds and never being released to public. I've since grown interested in Native American history, but in no way want to cross paths with that thing ever again. The emotional scar that thing has left me with makes me not want to be out in the woods and do what I do. Thanks for reading it if you did. Ohio River Rock Hunter. There you go. Another person's passion for the outdoors annihilated and taken away from them, just like that. Brink. All because of 0 previous knowledge. No nothing, right? I've had a lot of people email me, forward me videos of, I guess we call them psychics or mediums that are allegedly in communication with these people. I've listened to a bunch of them. I listened to the latest one too. I forget the name of the lady. It was a blonde woman. Sounded pretty smooth, like she was communicating with them pretty smooth. My gut tells me she's telling the truth. She seemed legitimate to me. I'd like to put more time into listening and learning about, I've mentioned in the past, people talking to them. There's a bunch of questions I have, I can't think of them right now, that I've never heard asked or answered. I'll think about that later on. I'm going to get going here in a second, but what I wanted to mention on that is, it's everything in life is patterns, right? So remember years back, we've had some real good law enforcement people, Cujo and others. I've had a lot of military officers email me on Proton email in confidence. A lot of people in law. And I had a detective email us quite a while ago when I was talking about patterns. And he said that no matter what the case is, when they're investigating, if they have 3 of the same, that's enough pattern for them to dive on it. That's good enough for them. 3, right? Everything's patterns. So when we listen to each other here, you listen for the patterns, right? And what I'm doing now, when I get a chance to, and I'm listening to these people who allegedly speak with these beings and more, I'm listening for the patterns. I'm listening for the patterns. Just that I dropped that. I think I'm losing my point. My focus is going back to that island of timber off in the distance. And I'm going to get moving, but everything's patterns, right? So while you listen to people, especially people who allegedly are in contact with these beings and are sharing their conversations, look for the patterns, all right? Take note, write them down, do whatever you got to do, but listen to the patterns. And hopefully we can talk about that more in the future. Now, there's so much going on. So much going on in life. Kind of funny. I'm by myself like this in the middle of frickin' nowhere. For so long, you do a lot of thinking. You do a lot of thinking when you're alone like this. I like it. A lot of you probably wonder how can you do this? How can you leave home for so long? Well, home's taken care of. Everybody's happy, fine. And what I preach to everyone is to make sure you do what you love to do, right? I mean, sometimes Sarah will be like, when are you going to come home? I go, soon. I go, but, like right now, I found a very, very rare, very large, old monster buck. And I'm playing my game with him, which I love, possibly one of the things I love most in life, and how I explain it to her. She knows it. She gets it. But what I say is, well, if I cut it short just to whip home when I don't really have to yet, what if I die this year? And I always think that way when I'm doing things I love. Some people might think I'm spending a little too much time doing it. How can you do that? But what if I die this year? What if I was to pack up tomorrow morning, leave, and quit? And that's all she wrote. I didn't achieve the goal I was after. I didn't fulfill my whole journey that I've taken on this journey right here, this short one. And I quit, and I raced home. And then I die this year. That's going to really piss me off. You know what I mean? But I always tell Sarah that too. Like, we're planning on going away on holidays. She's not sure if we can do it or not. I'm like, yeah, we can do it. We're going to do it, because if we don't, what if we die this year? Think about it that way. I always think maybe some people might get a little taken back by that, but I go through life saying that to myself all the time. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should go do that. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this so much. What if you die next year? Then what are you going to look back and wish you did do? Right? So here I am, in the middle of nowhere in the real world, loving the living shit out of it. And playing the game that I love to play, one-on-one with a big old buck. And we do need we do need the meat from one more deer for this year too. Take note. This isn't just about killing. If it was just about killing, I would have shot one ages ago. But I will, if I see a big-bodied, mature buck today or tomorrow, he's coming home. And if I don't get one up here, well, I still get to hunt at home as well. So, but man, it would be so cool to get that 350-pound monster old buck. We'll see. I'm going to get moving. Game on. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Get that knowledge in. Add that to our patterns. Whatever you got, add it in. All right, we need it. It's making a big difference for a lot of people.